Is to share business ideas, practices, and strategies while we enjoy our cup of coffee. Today's guest is Amani Abdul. She is the current president of the local IREM chapter. IREM stands for Institute of Real Estate Management. We're going to be talking a little bit about that, some of the changes and transitions that they're making and trying to adapt to some new technology. We're also going to be talking a little bit about what she does on a daily basis and working in commercial real estate as it pertains to the retail world, how that's changed over the last 18 months, some things that she's seen, some things that she's learned, and what the future looks like there. A very eye-opening conversation. Hope you gain some perspective out of it as well. So grab your cup of coffee, yeah, that too, and get ready for this conversation.
We got so much to say. We got a podcast to make. We're sipping on lattes, and it's time for a coffee break. It's time for a coffee break. Oh, yeah.
Amani, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I've been excited to have you on the schedule for a while. Several different things. One, we're going to be talking a little bit about IREM today, which is something that our company is involved with, but also a little bit about commercial real estate, retail real estate, because that's something that you guys are involved with, and kind of getting some insight on that. It's been an interesting ride over the past year or so. But before we get into any of that, it's rapid fire.
Yes,
5
okay.
randomly selected questions just to get under your skin with unknown point values.
Okay.
All right? And we'll get you a score at the end.
Let's go.
All right?
Yeah.
All right. Number one question is, what's the most embarrassing fashion trend that you used to rock?
Neon, like the thigh high, what were they called? Leg warmers.
Leg warmers. Okay.
Yes.
Neon leg
Yes.
warmers.
And the whole Prince thing trend with the jackets and the Michael Jackson. Yeah. I don't know if it's embarrassing, but it was.
It was always
and
on
the
point.
Aquanet hair.
Okay.
It's like sprayed up to here, and then it takes forever to comb out. Yeah, there you go. It's a few for you.
All right. There you go. Number two, what is, if you could sail around the world on a boat, what would the name of your boat be?
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
me. You didn't know?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, check my page.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just really embracing it. All right. Let's see here. If you could magically become fluent in any language, what would it be?
Portuguese.
Portuguese.
I think it's sexy.
Okay. Okay. That works.
French, like French, Spanish. Yeah.
Yeah. French, Spanish, or Portuguese.
It kind of puts me in a between both.
Okay.
But yes.
Between
Portuguese.
All
Yeah,
right.
we'll
We'll
go
go.
there.
Go Portuguese.
Yes.
All right. Number 3. If you could get rid of one, which one would you give up? Your smartphone or your computer?
Computer.
Why is that?
I can do everything on my smartphone.
Ooh.
It's smart. Except sometimes it types things I don't want it to type. So maybe not so smart.
Sometimes it can be an issue. Sometimes. All right. Question number 4. What is the most out of character thing that you've ever done?
Out of character. God, that's hard. I don't know. Can we come back to that one? Let me think. Out of character.
You're just,
I think one time I stood up to a psychologist, or no, it's a psychiatrist, because she was over medicating my kid,
okay.
and I completely lost it.
And that's out of character? You're typically pretty
yeah,
easy to get along with?
yeah, for the most part, but
Oh.
that was just not. It was not. Yeah.
All right.
That's probably it.
Last question, number 5. If
Yes.
you had $1 million,
Yes.
what would you buy first?
A trip for my son, myself, my cousins to go on vacation.
To where?
Greece.
You've got to say somewhere that speaks Portuguese.
Oh, well, yeah.
You've already learned
geez.
Portuguese.
I know, but it's just sexy. At least I think so.
So Greece.
Greece.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Have you been there?
French Riviera, maybe? Yeah.
You have?
No,
Oh,
I haven't.
you
I
haven't?
I haven't.
Oh.
It's on my list.
Yes. Very
In
cool.
fact, I'm thinking about taking a cruise. That way I can visit everywhere.
You gonna fly over there, or are you gonna do?
Fly over there.
Okay, I like that.
Yes.
That sounds good. I've inquested of that before, so that would be pretty
it's a
cool.
10-day cruise, and it hits all the nice little pretty ports.
Get you just a little bit of a taste of everything.
Yeah, all at once.
Yeah. I love Greek food. We could go off on a whole tangent about
Yes,
Greek. Okay.
me too.
Anyways, you passed rapid fire.
Thank you.
Congratulations. It wasn't that bad.
Oh, I was a little scared for a minute.
We'll give you a score of 718.
Okay.
Okay. Does that work?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for being here today. Let's kind of jump into the conversation. I want to talk a little bit about what IREM is and your involvement, because you're serving as the chapter president. Is that
2021 president?
okay? And that's for the
Western North Carolina region.
There you go. Very, very specific title.
Yes.
And you've been involved with IREM for quite some time.
Yes.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about what it is and how it's important to you.
So IREM, it stands for the Institute of Real Estate Management. We are the WNC, which is Western North Carolina chapter. It's also referred to as Chapter 40. We encompass pretty much all of Western North Carolina, which also includes Asheville.
Yeah.
And our primary goal is education. You know, we're about making sure that folks within the real estate industry, be it residential or commercial, have the knowledge, the experience, you know, the resources in their careers to be sure they're successful.
Gotcha.
And so we have several designations. We have the ARM, which stands for Accredited Residential Manager.
Okay.
The ACOM, which is Accredited Commercial Manager. And then, of course, the CPM, which is the Certified Property Manager. And, so...
A lot of acronyms.
It takes several classes. The ARM is not... it can be done in maybe a few days.
Okay.
CPM will probably take you a year or two.
And anybody can sign up for it, or do you have to have any type of precursor?
You do have to have some type of real estate experience. I believe you should. I think for the ARM, you have to have, I believe, a year or two of experience.
Okay.
CPM, several years of experience.
Okay.
But there are specific requirements. We do have scholarships for those who have issues, and the scholarship will primarily pay the majority of the classes. So, I always advocate for folks getting involved, signing up, at least becoming an associate member, and then looking at our coursework and figuring out what's best for them. And you can always schedule it around your schedule.
Yeah. And I know, I don't know what the current status is of it, but I seen a couple of things happening for was it a Restart program or something like that?
Yes. So Restart sits under the umbrella of IREM, but it's separate entity.
Okay.
And when David Martin gets here, he can explain all of that because he's the president of Restart. That's his baby.
Yeah.
But basically, it's a great opportunity for folks who are in situations and don't have the means to come in through us, learn about real estate. We help them get going, teach them, we have a few classes, and get them a certificate to send them on their way where they can start somewhere in real estate, maybe in the residential aspect of things, maybe as a leasing person, and then matriculate from there.
So it's like a scholarship type program.
Exactly.
To kind of get people involved.
Yes.
It was interesting. I remember a couple of years back attending one of I guess it was maybe a graduation ceremony at a luncheon or something like that, and to be able to kind of hear some of the stories and understand how people were able to utilize that as a launching point for them. It's pretty cool.
It is. It's an awesome program.
How did you get roped into being involved in the leadership of IREM? It's just one of these things in these types of these networks and communities, right? It's like at some point in time, people become the president of it, and it's like, what have I gotten myself into?
It's been a very good year. Busy
year.
I feel like I have two jobs.
Yes,
it's been super
busy.
busy.
I can imagine. But you get involved because there's
I want to.
Great potential, right?
Absolutely. It's such a great network of individuals. When we're talking, like some of my friends were developed through IREM.
Sure.
Be it other property managers or my IPs, our industry partners. Those are that's my lifeline. I always look at, and I tell people all the time, your I don't even like to call them vendors. They are your partner. Because when you're in a crunch, that partner can make or break you.
Yeah.
Because if they're behind or if they're doing something, if you don't have that relationship,
Sure.
they're not going to come save your life.
Yeah.
But if you do, they probably will.
Yeah.
And it's just developing those relationships and fostering them through everything that, we're doing, be it, outreach. We do a lot of community outreach. We, of course, our networking, our luncheons, our lunch and learns, our events. We have all these amazing events coming this year. It's our IREM 60th, which now we're calling the Diamond Anniversary.
Well,
it's going to be very glitzy, and I'm super excited. But yeah, it's networking. It's all about networking.
Yeah.
And I talked to a couple of kids who are in a real estate class at CPCC and Virginia Tech. We did Virginia Tech yesterday, and always trying to push the importance of building relationships.
Sure.
Real estate is a very, very small, even though it's huge, it's a small community. Everyone knows everyone. You want to maintain a good reputation and always maintain great relationships.
Well, and I think, what we've experienced, and I don't know exactly how many years we've been involved in IREM as an industry partner. I think it's at least 3, maybe 4 years. It has been very eye-opening, that connection point there, because, you're attending either luncheons, but you have kind of a direct connection with like you were saying, the people, and you're starting to build a connection point where it's less transactional, it's more relational, right? And so, like you were saying, if you're in a pinch, you've got somebody, a face, you know a name, you've got a connection point.
And it helps.
Yeah. So, as the president of the chapter, got it. I was trying to click in my brain. As the president of the chapter, what does that look like? What are you working on during that term? Because it switches over every year.
Every year.
So it's just kind of a constant churn of what's new, what's fresh, which I would imagine it's got its pros and cons, right? It alleviates the burden of kind of the same philosophy over and over and over again, so it gets some new things. But I would also understand it probably has some challenges kind of getting involved, understanding what's going on, and then moving up. What are moving things forward? What are the exciting things that you've been working on since you've gotten involved in that position?
Well, currently we're working on streamlining everything, making sure that we run efficiently. Everything, like we want to make sure everything's housed on a database, and we're still backing things up to a drive that's a bank. Just we're a little behind at times.
Yeah.
So we're moving things forward.
Okay.
And it's we've had our challenges, but for the most part, I do see a light at the end of the tunnel. It's going to be a nice, smooth transition. And then, of course, we're working on specific policies and procedures that we want to add to make sure that anyone coming in understands, because some of the bylaws can be misconstrued depending on how you read it, what your perception is. And so we want to make sure we have detailed policies and procedures in place.
Now, when you get started on something like that, I would imagine it's kind of an overwhelming, just looking at everything going, okay, we got to get from point A to point B. And it sounds like from even our conversation before we started, that's something that you enjoy. So it's something that you've probably done multiple times. What is kind of your first assessment? When you look at something overwhelming like that, or that I would assume to be overwhelming, say we've got to start implementing processes. We've got to shift from this technology to this technology. What is kind of your first steps that you go about getting that in order or organized so that you can start taking actionable steps and making it happen?
So we actually looked at that. So we identified the most important things first. And just like our bylaws, it's okay. So let's identify certain portions first that we need to fix immediately. Or not fix, but make sure we have clear understanding and explanations for. Same thing with our all our media platforms. We want to make sure that the content that we're putting out is reflective of who we are, what we stand for as an organization.
Gotcha.
And then we go by what's most important. Right now, we have been utilizing a lot of the Instagram. We, trying to boost our posts to make sure that we get a greater reach. And so little by little.
Because the value of IREM, the value of that community is essentially from a growth perspective as well, right? The more people that are involved with it, the more connection points,
Right.
kind of the strength of that community.
Correct.
Can you copy this key? That's a question we get asked about 3,422 times a year. And how can you actually be sure that the person who asked that question is supposed to get a copy of that key? Well, we think you should always know who can copy your keys to your business and your home, because it could be your neighbor, an old employee, a contractor, or even worse, your mother-in-law. At Loc-Doc Security, we believe in protected key systems, so you always know who has a copy of your key. To find out more, visit locdoc.net or stop by our Charlotte location. Loc-Doc Security, helping you protect your people and your property. So, what is the biggest thing that you've kind of picked up or learned outside of the, I guess, networking, but that you would say to any type of somebody that's involved in real estate management as a whole, that you would say you need to get involved in this type of an organization, or specifically this organization?
Aside from the networking, it would be the education.
Education.
Yes. I've learned a lot. It's definitely helped me in my career,
Yeah.
growth-wise. Actual new employers look for certain designations,
Yeah.
and that designation goes a long way. It's definitely worth the time, the effort, the money involved. So I do advocate for that.
So getting those acronyms.
Yes. Whatever it may be. You can start start the ARM and get that done, knock it out.
Progressive acronyms.
Yeah. And then, you have some that say, well, I'll just get my ACOM. I'm like, just go all the way and get that CPM.
Yeah.
Knock it all out.
You're gonna go for it, just go
halfway
all the way,
there.
yeah.
You just have like 4 or 5 more classes. Just knock it out.
What are those? Are those classes kind of like on demand type thing? You got to attend how does that typically work?
Well, once upon a time when I took it, everything was pretty much in person.
Okay.
So IREM National has now kind of morphed into the whole virtual thing. And I don't even know how to explain the virtual thing, because when people come to me and say, hey, Amani, I'm going for my MPSA and I want to know everything, I need to know about this, about getting my CPM. And so you're taking all these classes and you've got to pass them. And the test is online. So the only test that's actually proctored was the ethics test,
Okay.
which is the easiest one of all. That's common sense. If you don't pass that, then
But they do it in person because you want to make sure nobody's cheating.
exactly. So, but the other classes, when you get to CPM, I did all of mine in person, and then you take the test, and it's timed. You take it at your leisure. I always tell people take it when it's fresh, because it's a lot of information. The MPSA, on the other hand, is a written, I call it a financial paper. So when I took it, they tell you they want 17 to 20 pages
Of what?
to answer this case study that they give you.
Oh, okay.
And so you have to give them 2 comp studies, an as-is and an alternative.
Oh, okay.
And then you have to give them 2 budgets, an as-is and an alternative.
Gotcha.
And you have to meet the owner's goals.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty simple. But just remember that every time you change a number, you have to make sure your paper matches.
Gotcha.
And you have to...
So it's really a
It's
practical
detailed.
sense of here's a situation,
Yes.
and go get all of the information and present it from a budget standpoint,
Yes.
execution, all of that.
Right.
Very cool.
So they give you the case study. If you're in residential, they give you a residential one. If you're in office, they'll give you an office one. And they'll say, this is what the owner wants. How do you meet these goals? And you can either meet them or say, hey, no, I can't. And this is why.
Ah,
As long as it makes sense,
okay.
you're good.
That's interesting.
But now all of that is online.
Yeah. I think I want to take those classes. Okay.
Well, you take the online one, tell me how it goes.
Okay. It sounds exciting. From kind of switching gears a little bit, from an actual property management standpoint, dealing with retail as you have, or as you are, what this past 18 months has been very intriguing with retail. I was talking with someone the other day about commercial real estate as it pertains to office space, office environment, and they were saying, you know what, things have changed. We've had to do certain things, but a lot of it's not really changed a whole lot because we still have to maintain the buildings. So if people are there or not, we still have to maintain the buildings. And some people have different demands. Maybe some cleaning schedules have changed a little bit, but it's not really been just completely different outside of just adapting to some work from home type stuff. Retail obviously has undergone a little bit of a different facelift over the past year. What have you seen in either your world from the management side, and maybe I guess we could talk into what are you hearing from your tenants and the businesses that you're working with as they've had to adapt?
So unfortunately, retail took, I think, the biggest hit because we have, I have primarily all retail for the most part. Collett develops and manages retail primarily for the most part. And when you have, just retail stores and you have restaurants and they're told to close and there's no one coming in, there's nothing getting done versus the office where it's like, I can work from home and still get paid. Yeah, of course, we're going to reduce. And we did that in retail. We reduced janitorial. We reduced, the landscaping to make sure that our tenants did not have to incur these costs.
Sure.
But I have an office building.
Yeah.
That was like the least of my issues.
Sure.
Retail, just having those conversations with those tenants and I had a tenant that was making almost $1 million a year.
Yeah.
Had a salon, and she's in tears.
Yeah.
She's crying. And how do I pay my people? I've got this going on. It has some personal stuff going on. And a lot of people don't understand. It's like you look at the entity, and you're like, oh, okay, the landlord owns it. No. The landlord actually has a mortgage on it. The lender tells the landlord what to do, and it's a whole big fiasco because the landlord can't just give you rent off. The landlord just can't say, okay, don't worry about it. I understand there's an issue. Yeah. Because that landlord has to deal with the lender. And every time a lease changes, the lender has to be notified and it has to agree. So just listening to the stories and having tenants who have actually put their all into it. And it hurt me because a lot of that money that was given out was supposed to go to small businesses. And unfortunately, it did not. Yeah. And it hurt a lot of those businesses, and those businesses had to close for good. Yeah. That was just heartbreaking. Yeah. There's nothing worse than watching someone who once flourished and enjoyed what they love and spent their all and hard-earned, saved money, and had to close up shop. Yeah. And we saw that across the board. Well,
you have this flip side, right? In the other sense, prior to the pandemic, and maybe even kind of as we're on the way out of it, you have a unique opportunity in the retail world to see businesses come to life. Here's somebody with a dream. They come in and they put it in this store, and boom, it starts to flourish. And it's like, man, this is amazing because you see these people's dreams come to life. And then through something like this, it is the flip opposite of it, right? And so you're just kind of navigating that. And it's interesting when you speak on it from that perspective, because across the board, I think people start going, well, people aren't spending money with us, so I can't make any money, so therefore I can't pay my vendors. So we'll just kind of push it off down the line. At some point in time, that's got to stop, right? Yes. There's a holdup at that point. Dealing with that, I would imagine from a property management standpoint, you shifted from less of managing property to mitigating people's emotions. Because you're at that point dealing with real life scenarios of what does the future look like for me and my business, me and my family.
It was hard. It was really hard. I think I didn't mind the whole COVID thing, but the hardest part was dealing and talking to those tenants and listening to their stories and knowing that really you can't do anything to help them. Yeah. So you feel helpless. Sure. I tell people all the time, my primary job is solving. I am a problem solver. Yeah. So real estate manager is my title, but I solve problems all day. Yeah. But I can't solve that problem. Couldn't fix it. And if you're someone like me who's very empathetic, it just hurt. Yeah. And and just like you said, like I love real estate.
Yeah.
So I love to see the buildings go up, and then first it's like just dirt, and then there's a vanilla shell, and then next thing you know whoever goes in, it's like a whole different vibe and everything. It's beautiful, but you don't get that opportunity if you're not functioning, you're not open, you're not able to pay your employees, you're not able to sustain the business. So.
Yeah. So within that realm on the retail side, you've got, I guess, you're obviously seeing people try to drive demand, and in retail shopping centers, you've got you're trying to make the curb appeal nice. You want a nice, welcoming environment for people, and then from that, then it's up to them, obviously, to turn those potential customers into clients or whatever the case may be. What is the kind of the typical process that you see from concept to actual execution, where you see these tenants come in with a dream or come in with a vision, and then be able to bring it into a full-fledged business operation that is thriving and working? You have any examples of that you've seen people come in with an idea and concept, and then boom, here comes a flourishing business?
I think I have a tenant right now, and it was a new concept for them.
Okay.
And they actually did some advertising.
Okay.
Had a list of members.
Okay.
That were ready to join. And then COVID hit.
Ugh.
And the members disappeared.
Yeah.
So they did all of this work ahead of time and literally had a beautiful build out and then had to struggle to get member by member back. So now you went from having a list of folks ready, signed up, prepared, and now you're starting from scratch. So
yeah,
it depends.
What in the retail area, what are you seeing? Things are coming back. People are kind of starting to click again. What does the future look like from your guys' perspective?
I think, at first people were like, hey, we don't know how many people are going to go back to the office. But they're building these amazing office structures now with like open floor plans and outdoor spaces. Like one of my former colleagues, a very good friend of mine, called me yesterday. He toured one right uptown. He was like, you need to see this monster. It's right on South Boulevard. He was like, Amani, it's amazing. It's like so futuristic. So yeah, office is heading in that direction. And you have retail. Well, we're kind of getting away from the big, larger malls, going into the, primarily a good anchor tenant kind of strip mall. But I remember going into one of my centers and it was dead. And then going in like May, June, and it's rocking again. I was like, yes, people are coming. But I think people are they're just tired. Yeah. They're like, hey, let's just get back to some normalcy. Like, we still want to shop. Yeah. And I have a tenant, and they did more business this year than last year. Yeah. Didn't have that much traffic, but did it all online. Yeah. And so people have found more creative ways to drive up traffic, so you can purchase online, but you have to come to that store and pick up the merchandise. So,
gotcha. Yeah. So you've seen some shift where some folks have been able to, some businesses have been able to shift either to an online e-commerce type model, or augment with some delivery or something like that, curbside pickup, all that. And the businesses that were able to adapt to that have been able to sustain. But those that kind of got shell shocked, I guess a salon, for instance, I'm trying to wrap my head around how do you augment that?
I will say, one of my hairstylists told me that she maintained by offering her clients the products. Okay. For them to do their own hair. Okay. If they can. Yeah. I said, that's very creative. Yeah. It's like, okay, I will buy the color that you're using and I will sell it to you. And hey.
That sounds scary for me. I don't know.
You're not going to get highlights, but you can at least, color your hair if that's what you want to do. Sure. So it just depends on, what the business. But you're right, salon, you can't really do that. Yeah. Restaurants, they did. I was shocked. I have a Red Robin, and I went up there, and they had alcohol to go. Yeah. They figured it out. It's like you can pick up the food and we have alcohol to go. Yeah. It'll be in a closed cup. Can't open it till you get home. Yeah. So that works. Yeah.
We understand the frustrations HOA board members and property managers face when deciding the best solution for their HOA and pool security. Should we use a keypad, hand out keys, or install a key card system? Do we even need cameras? These are some of the questions that are difficult to navigate, and we're here to help. At Loc-Doc Security, we've spent over 20 years working with homeowners associations and property managers to find the system that best fits the pool and HOA needs. Camera systems for the front gate or front entrance, key card systems for the pool gates, or simply updating the gate so that it meets safety and code compliance. We like to take the guesswork out of the process to answer any questions and help find the right solution. Our mission is to help you protect your people and your property, and that includes pools. Contact our team today to schedule your free consultation for your community. So many businesses got so creative, and it's exciting for the future of the economy, right? Because people can now start to see we can do this and actually even expand. Because I don't think in person, I mean, I'd be interested in your opinion as well, but in person kind of shopping experience or retail environment where you come and have that transaction face to face, I don't think it's going away. But you take a store that's located here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and their customer base was just directly around them.
Yeah.
Well, now if they've done it well,
right.
they can expand it to a larger market.
That's right. Absolutely. And we have tenants who have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've been very successful.
It's going to be hard. I mean, you're going to have a place to conduct business, but you can
Right.
you can make some adjustments and tweaks to grow your market share. Yeah. That's very cool. The retail as a whole, one of the things I've seen, and it's been eye-opening, so I'd be interested in your opinion on it. The selection of tenants in a specific space or a specific shopping center. How do you go about making sure, one, I guess, is it a strategic methodology where you say, hey, we need to have this different types of tenants, one to diversify it so we don't have issues, but also how do you collect those similar types of diverse tenants around? Like one of the things I talk about this on the podcast a lot. South Boulevard is a popular growth area for us, and they've put in this whole shopping where it used to be just this rundown.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, just
it looks amazing now.
And now you've got Madewell in there.
Yeah,
you've got big stores.
Yeah. What's that? West Elm is there. They've
West
got
Elm,
Sephora there. I was like, Sephora?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
So but it's all kind of collected around a certain type of tenant. So,
Correct.
So I guess I'm asking a very long question. How do you go about that process of saying, hey, this is the shopping center vibe that we're going for. Mm-hmm. Now let's collect the people and get them here so that we can make the most for our tenants?
Well, I think it's community driven.
Okay.
And it's about the vision you have. So we make sure that within our tenants that there is diversity. Mm-hmm. You don't want several of the similar thing because then now there's competition and one tenant's going to struggle or
you don't need 18 ice cream shops.
Exactly. And so it's always good, and we have turned folks down. Mm-hmm. Just because you want to be here doesn't mean you will be here. Mm-hmm. If we don't think it's a good fit for that that center. Mm-hmm. If we don't think it will meet the requirements, mm-hmm. then we won't put it in. We want to make sure that the center is healthy, it's vibrant, mm-hmm. it's thriving, and it offers something for everybody. And what they're doing on South Boulevard mm-hmm. is amazing. I would love a Sephora. I don't have a Sephora. I have 14 shopping centers. I don't have a Sephora. I'm very jealous people at South Boulevard. I don't know who the leasing folks are, but just let you know, it's amazing. Yeah. They're doing an amazing job. But
I don't shop at Sephora,
but you wouldn't. Your wife would. She would definitely shop at Sephora. But yeah, it's all about that vision and mm-hmm. having good leasing people who have the same vision, who understand the development mm-hmm. and the goal mm-hmm. And the community and what it needs.
You create an environment with the space, and then is it drawing the tenants in because of the environment, or does the tenant
both ways?
Yeah, it goes both ways.
Both ways.
It's very intriguing. There's so many examples even around Charlotte. I mean, one of the biggest one that sticks out to me is and again, this podcast is listened to and watched outside of the Charlotte market, so I'm trying to be contextual here. But Park Road Shopping Center,
yes,
is the biggest transition one that I can think of, where it was just kind of a place that was like, and then all of a sudden it just flipped over the course of 12, 18
Chase
months.
there now. McDonald's is gone.
Yeah,
I think they rebuilt it and destroyed it. I don't know how that happened, but it's like gone. They've done a great job, and then they have a couple of like new breweries or something, restaurants.
The whole area is just thriving.
It is.
Because it was almost a drab and dying type of
it was neglected.
Okay.
Yes.
Neglected little center.
Yes.
It still has the same anchor tenants that were there before.
Yes, Harris Teeter. Yes.
But it's not the same Harris Teeter that was there.
No, it looks all nice and fresh and has a fresh front. I pay attention. Look at Harris Teeter growing up. It's amazing.
It's
those little touches that go a long way and that catch people's attention. Say, oh, okay, I see this turning. So maybe I can look at the property value here and see how that's moving up, and maybe it's good to buy now. And so when it's redeveloped, and I have nice equity.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I guess I get so intrigued by the progression, right? Because it's these environmental efforts that go in that will either create some intrigue around an area, and then that area starts to improve, or that particular location changes, and then it affects the outside parameters, right? I mean, the South Boulevard example there at Atherton, right? It was just this like drive by there and just like hurry quick because I don't know exactly what's going to happen, to they just demolished the whole thing.
The whole thing.
You've got hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of multifamily housing units there on top of just this incredible retail. And then now you have
following the rail line.
And then you have this in the shadows, right? These old kind of dying restaurants and retail that are like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And so just seeing that transition, and it all happened from, the rail line changed a lot.
That's what really did it. So I live uptown, and they put that rail line down. And I was like, oh my gosh, wow.
Yeah.
And to see what they're doing on Trade, just starting from, the square, moving down, it's amazing.
So I was talking to somebody, and I know we're way off base here from where we started, but this is all very intriguing to me. But I was talking to somebody several years ago, and they were like, the light rail, the development happened because of the light rail, but not due to the light rail. I can't remember exactly how they phrased it. The light rail drew some growth and development, but it wasn't necessarily because people were using the light rail. It's like, it's just this central thing that is connected down the middle of the city now that everything is just kind of drawing to it. And if you literally look from a satellite perspective, it's like it all starts here and it kind of
ventures out. Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think initially the plan was they were trying to get more and more millennials down. And at the time, they weren't trying to buy houses because they have all the student debt, and they didn't really want to drive far. So they figured, hey, let's put these light rails in, and we'll drive them down here. And Charlotte has this amazing marketing. So, of course, we're like the place to be right now.
Yeah.
So they come down, and they can get a place right on the light rail. They're making good money. Yeah, it's convenient. And then when you have shopping and restaurants and everything right there at your doorstep, you really don't have to venture far.
Yeah. So they all kind of draw each other.
Yeah.
It's very intriguing. Well, I appreciate the conversation today.
Thank
you. Just to kind of recap, we started talking about IREM, we talked about retail, and now we've talked about the light rail.
Yes.
So we've really
covered it.
covered the entire city.
Yes.
The only last thing that I have always been intrigued by, and as it pertains to retail, is South Park Mall.
Yes.
South Park Mall has always stayed high tier. Explain that to me.
It's South Park.
It's just South.
It's South Park. It's like Valentine. If it wasn't Valentine, it wouldn't die.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you have two communities that are very affluent, that have thrived, that have amazing reputations.
Yeah.
And it's not going to hurt.
Reputation, maintaining reputation.
That's right.
That's a good takeaway.
Yeah. I mean, it's so hard.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong.
Interesting.
And they keep it clean, and it's nice, and it's lots to do. You know, restaurants and the shops.
I know this is very regional. 'Cause I keep going back to that. It's very regional for anybody that will be listening, but it's just so intriguing to me to see these other areas of Charlotte or these other areas of town. And I'm sure every place has it that have either developed and peaked and then started to come down. But there are a couple of areas in our direct market that have just always been at peak, and they've never fallen off, and it's just it's upholding and maintaining that reputation
and the community.
Yeah, and people just not letting it no, this is the way that this is, and we're not going to change.
Yes, and supporting it. It's important to support your community businesses. It's very important.
Very big takeaway. Yeah. Hey, Amani, thank you for joining us and coming into the studio to chat about IREM and about commercial real estate, retail, all of the things. Very eye-opening conversation. If you would like to find out more information, you can follow the links in the description below, and we invite you to subscribe. We've got over 130 other episodes very similar to this with very much of the same topics, all about business ideas, practices, and strategies. You can subscribe by visiting locdoc.net/podcast. All of the episodes are available there. You can watch them and listen to them, and you can follow our YouTube and Facebook pages, and you can subscribe to get the latest episode every Tuesday morning. It's all coming to you, and you can find out more at locdoc.net/podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.